Good evening, everybody. So my name is Jeffrie Moir. Everybody calls me the Wizard. So trying something a little bit new here. This is entirely question and answer based. So this isn't going to work if I don't have questions from you guys. So anything to do with the metaphysical or the occult, or if you just have questions regarding your personal life and you want me to draw a card for you, see if I can come up with an answer. You can leave those in the comments below or shoot me an email. Make sure that you include a nickname that you want me to reference you by and your zodiac sign. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. Now, normally I'd want these to be just, one person, one question. But since it's the first episode, got a couple of people here that just fired off a whole bunch of random questions. So we'll go ahead and try to answer these as best as possible. So we'll start with Kitty, who is a Capricorn. She says, well, how did you first discover your gift? Okay, that's kind of a complicated question, but I would say I was born weird, and my mom was weird, and she inherited the weirdness from her mom, and so on and so forth. So it's always just been there. It's always been something that's there in the family, and tried to turn away from it for a while, and it kind of smacked me in the ass, and here I am now. So then her second question is, what specifically got you into tarot? So it was several years ago. I was just at this random, it was a Harry Potter convention, and there was somebody there that they had a booth. It was just $10 psychic readings. Now, usually I'll, entertain these things, and normally I don't believe in them at all, but this guy was really, really good. He scared the shit out of me. And so, did the basic $10 reading. Booked a full reading with him later on, and at the end of that reading he was like, I think if you really wanted to do it, it's like you could learn how to do this too. And so I started playing around with it, and it was a good friend of mine gave me my first tarot deck. I kind of played around, took it to bars, did readings for people in exchange for, like, hey, buy me a beer, I'll read your cards. And then eventually people started being like, you're really, really good at this. You should start charging money. And so now I charge money. I charge a lot of money. So what is your strongest experience? Okay, so I have two in particular that I'll go over here. Now with these, I don't want to say for sure what this was or what it wasn't. But first one was, I want to say I was probably about 11 years old. And this falls into the realm of what they called an unverified shared experience. So the entire family, all of my siblings and my parents were there. And some reason in the middle of the night, all the doors in the house started opening and slamming repeatedly over and over again. And then cupboards in the kitchen started opening, and dishes started flying across the room, and just all kinds of crazy things going on. And we had no idea what was going on. And eventually the whole family was huddled together in the living room. We were just freaking out, trying to figure out what was going on. Now, I grew up very religious, so my dad was, saying the prayers and, the Mormon thing, trying to, cast out the evil spirits in the name of Jesus Christ and whatnot. Nothing was working. So they eventually gave a call to my grandfather. Now, my grandfather, he happened to have some experience in the occult. Kind of messed around with some dubious things, but he came over, and I still don't understand this. So if you guys understand this at all, leave comments, send me an email, let me know a little bit more about what this might be or how it might work. But what he did was he started feeling the back of our heads. He was looking for some sort of pattern of bumps or something like that, because he said this isn't something that's ghost related. He said that, and ultimately he came to the conclusion that it was something that my older brother was doing. He said that was like a telekinetic storm that my older brother was throwing. And so that apparently was his explanation for what a poltergeist is, for lack of a better term, was what we were experiencing. So to this day, I have no idea what that actually was. No scientific explanation for how it happened. But I'm willing to entertain ideas, and I would love to hear what you guys think it was. So, second big experience. Now, I don't know that this goes into the realm of a shared, unverified experience, but because, well, it was myself, and then the other witness would have been one of the family cats that we had at the time. It was the middle of the night. Of course, it always happens middle of the night. I'm woken up by the cat, like on my chest, back all arched up, and she's just throwing a fit, just hissing and screaming, and I wake up like, cat, what the fuck? And then I look over, and standing in the middle of the room, about 6 feet tall, is just this black shadowy figure. And of course, I was half asleep at the time, so first I thought maybe my mind's playing tricks on me, maybe I'm still like half asleep. So I did the thing where, kind of rub my eyes, try to wake up a little better. I look over, it's still fucking there. It's just standing there, just watching, not doing anything. So, well, let's say I was maybe like 16, 17 at the time, and I got feeling a little brave, and because I knew that room very well, it was the basement of the house that I pretty much grew up in, just charged right through it, grabbed the little like light bulb chain thing, turned that on, turned all the lights on in the basement, and then it was gone. But I mean, there was kind of no denying that it's like, okay, this wasn't just some sort of trick of the light or whatnot, or something that I was like a sleep paralysis experience or anything like that, which we can go into sleep paralysis in depth quite a bit later. I lifelong sleep paralysis sufferer, so have lots of information that I can share regarding that phenomenon and how to better control it. But this was not a sleep paralysis experience. So once again, I don't know what it was. You tell me what you think it was. Okay, so it says, where am I from? Well, I'm originally from Vancouver, Washington, which is right across the river from Portland, Oregon. Now, my parents, once again, being religious, when we were, I want to say, I must have been about 10 years old, because that experience was where I was 11, was in the house that we moved to when we first moved to Utah. But my parents made what I refer to as the Mecca move for Mormons. So moved to Salt Lake City to try to get closer to the church, get away from, big city liberalism or whatever, and get closer to a certain family that lived down here. So lived in Salt Lake and then West Valley, and then parents eventually moved us to this tiny little town called Tooele, and that's where I spent all of my teenage years. Now, that should be something for another episode, the history of Tooele, and this is part of why I got into part of the reason why I'm into some of the things that I'm into, because there are some creepy things that went on out there. And this is where I learned about, okay, you guys might laugh at this, but apparently there is a secret occult war. And I met people out there that claimed to be on one side or the other, and they gave me kind of the history of it. And so, well, we can go into depth with that later on, all depending on what you guys want to hear about and what questions you guys have. So if you could describe yourself in 30 seconds, what would you highlight on? Well, usually the way that I describe myself is just this. It's like, I'm really fucking weird. And as I'm getting older, I'm only getting weirder. And I don't know how much longer I've got left on this planet. So I'm just going to get really fucking weird with the years that I've got left. So that's kind of the long and short of it. So, favorite color? Brown. Animal, vultures. Place to visit, Victoria, British Columbia. Book, American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Movie, oh, that's a tough one. Can I do like top 10? Yeah, I really can't decide on that one. So sorry, I'm not going to give an answer to that one. Okay. So now we're going to go into Earth Mama, who's a Virgo. Now, her questions are more of a personal nature. So, her first question is, how do you prepare for an existential crisis? Would it really be an existential crisis if you were prepared for it? I mean, it kind of catches you off guard, and I don't think there's anything that you can really do to prepare for it. If you were prepared for it, you wouldn't be having an existential crisis. So, you never know when it's going to happen or how it's going to happen, and no matter how prepared you think you are, it's going to catch you off guard. So, all you can really do is just roll with the punches and do what you have to do to be able to get back on your feet when it happens. So, number 2, how do you use empathy as a tool to help people and not a toxic trait? Okay, now, this is an interesting question, because normally when people talk about being empathic or having empathic abilities or empathy in general, they usually are referring to it as a positive trait to have. It's kind of my personal opinion that everybody's empathic to some degree or another. I think basic empathy is probably an evolutionary trait, something that we don't really tap into as much as we used to have to, because back like 50, 60,000 years ago, if you ran into another tribe, you had to entirely trust your gut on what kind of feeling you were getting off of these people. Is this a friendly tribe? Can we really trust what they're saying? Or are these cannibals that want to, kind of pull one over on us, and when we're sleeping, slit our throats and eat us? Or, being able to tap into subtle nuances that we don't have to so much anymore. Right now, I mean, we're in a world of constant distractions, media left and right. Back then, it's like you really had to be in tune with your surroundings and what was going on, because you didn't know if, you had to be on guard, because at any moment there could be a saber-toothed tiger that's coming over that hill to eat your ass. Maybe that wasn't the best phrasing, but you get the idea. So when we're talking about empathy as a toxic trait, I would assume that we're talking about taking on all of the feelings and emotions in any given scenario, not being able to stay grounded, and just allowing yourself to be entirely overwhelmed. And easiest way to deal with that, well, there is no easy way to deal with that. It's something that you have to learn as you go. And there's various different grounding techniques, and just whatever works for you, as far as whatever magical rituals or crystals you carry, or whatever it is that you're putting faith in. But ultimately, it all comes down to practice. It's being able to be more self-aware and take a look and ask yourself, okay, what I'm feeling right now, are these my emotions? Is this something that belongs to me? Is this something that I need to be feeling, something that I need to be processing? Or is this borrowed from somewhere else? Is this something that I'm picking up from somewhere else? And if it doesn't belong to you, then it's a matter of, okay, this doesn't belong to me. This is something that I'm picking up on. Now, how do I let it go? And once again, it's just a matter of practice, trying different methods. And if you guys know various methods or whatnot that you would recommend for people that might be experiencing something like that, but I'd love to hear your comments. So, number 3, how do you spot a narcissist, and how do you leave them? Well, in my experience with people that are narcissistic, now I'd say there's really some distinctions we have to make. Now, first, there's a difference between exhibiting narcissistic behavior and somebody that has a narcissistic personality disorder. I'd say, just as empathy is kind of an innate trait that I think everybody has, I think we all have our narcissistic moments as well. The times where we're just oblivious to other people around us and what other people are feeling, and whatever the situation is, we're just kind of trapped in our own emotions and trapped in our own head and not able to get away from that. Now, narcissistic personality disorder is something that's entirely different. Now, that is usually associated with severe trauma, usually experienced as a child. And somebody that has narcissistic personality disorder, a lot of what they're doing is they're projecting their own issues and their own self-hatred onto other people. So how can you tell if somebody has narcissistic personality disorder? There's a few different things. The big one is that they're not willing to take accountability for anything. No matter what happens, it's not their fault. It's somebody else's fault. It's society's fault. It's the situation's fault. They'll never take accountability. They'll never apologize. Second, what they call crazy making. So the longer that you spend with them, the more that they'll have you convinced that you're the one that's crazy, that you're the one that's toxic, and that you're the one who needs to change. So gaslighting, that, and, well, I think the more important thing is how do you recognize right off the bat so you don't wind up wasting your time with them. Because narcissists, or people with narcissistic personality disorder, they can come off as really charming right off the bat. But there's also the overt narcissist and covert narcissist. Overt narcissists are going to be easier to spot. So this is going to be the person that no matter what the situation is, it's like the spotlight has to be on them. They don't give a crap about anybody else, you know. And they'll mess with you, they'll flirt with you, they'll try to charm you, they'll try to win you over. But if you're perceptive and you see what happens if you try to pull the attention away from them, or take a look and see what happens if you don't give them the attention that they're looking for. Because narcissists, they tend to not take it very well if they're ignored. Same thing with the covert narcissist, but difference between an overt narcissist and a covert narcissist is that covert narcissists, rather than trying to put on this like aggrandized version of themselves, they want you to pity them. They'll have a sob story and they'll go into histrionic fits whenever they're confronted with anything, and everything is just too much for them to bear, and everything to them is a matter of just diverting and projecting anything that they're dealing with so that they don't have to deal with anything, that they don't have to confront anything, that they can just suck off of everybody else's pity and make everybody else do everything for them. So those are a few things to look out for. And like I said, biggest way that you can tell right off the bat if somebody is a narcissist or not is see what happens if you don't give them the attention that they're looking for. Now, they'll always throw a fit if you ignore them. And that's, how do you leave them? I'd say, really, my heart goes out to you if you're stuck in a position where you're in a relationship with somebody that's got narcissistic personality disorder, or you somehow got tangled up in their games. But really, there's only one way to deal with them and only one way to leave them at all. And that's, you're not going to win if you try to fight them. You're not, they're whatever twisted games that they got you wrapped up in. You're not going to outsmart them. You're not going to convince people that you're the good guy and they're the bad guy. You just have to leave. You have to get out. You have to cut off all contact. Anybody that's, a good friend of theirs that, is wrapped up in their game, that might triangulate to try to get information on you and get back to them, don't try to prove anything to anybody. You have to cut them off, and you have to cut off anybody that might be wrapped up in their games. Because the first thing that, whenever a narcissist can no longer control you, they're going to try to control everybody else and control what everybody else thinks about you. So anybody that decides to get lost in the narcissist's game, take their side and turn against you, walk away. You're not going to win. For your own sanity, just walk away and start again new. Okay. So our third and last one here, we have Oli. So Oli's a Virgo. And her first question is, explain your branch of the occult. So the way that she put this specifically, she's like, there's various different branches. There's, Wicca, there's Stelamites, there's, Chaos Magicians, so on and so forth. It's like, where do you fit in with all of this? And I'd say the only real answer I have is I'm a dabbler. As I feel everybody should be. Really, if you wanted to get locked down by like one label and one definition, then why didn't you just stick with the religion that you guys were all raised with? Especially those of us from Utah. I mean, there's a good chance, you know, if you're watching this right now, that you're from Utah and that you were, you know, raised under the one true church. So it's like, no, you know, my path, and well, this is what I would recommend, but I'm not going to tell anybody what they should do one way or another, is study a lot of different things and try to learn as much as you can from various different things, and try to make your overall ideology, your overall path, a combination of different things. Now, as far as things that I've dabbled in, of course, Thelema, Wicca, Norse paganism, and that's kind of brought me to where I am now, where it's just kind of an amalgamation of a bunch of different things. And honestly, I'd say anybody that's going to try to convince you that they're an expert or they're a master in matters of the occult or whatnot, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's a complete Dunning-Kruger effect. Anything to do with the occult, you could study it for a million years and you'd still only scratch the surface. So, and they asked me to pull a card for them. They want to know, will we be able to buy a house this year? Okay, Oli. Well, first I'd say right now, without having to pull a card, it's a seller's market. You might want to hold off, wait for the prices of houses to come down, and then a couple of things. When you do look to buy a house, make sure that you get a homeowner's warranty and you hire your own inspector. Now, as far as what the cards say, let's see what I'm looking at here. It's like, that is the Ace of Pentacles reversed. Now is not the time to be buying. So right now you got to really kind of sort through your priorities. There is some leaks in your guys' financial faucets right now that are going to need to be fixed, and some serious consideration as far as the financial situation and what it is that's actually going to be feasible, what you guys can actually afford, and really like what your guys' overall plans are for the future. But my own personal opinion with where the market is right now and with what the cards are saying, now is not the time to buy. Just patience, hold out, wait for the prices of the houses to come down, and try to get your financial affairs more in order before you make that leap. So, once again, it's like, if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below or shoot me an email. We'll try to do this on the regular. But thanks for watching me ramble, and good night, everybody.